Abby? No.
If you've ever watched a Freddy Krueger or Jason movie and shouted, "No, don't do that!" at the stupid teenagers on screen, The Quarry is the game for you. Hi folks, Mike Finnerty here, gaming editor and critic with entertainment.ie. Here's our review of The Quarry for PlayStation 5. The Quarry is the latest game from the developers of Until Dawn, and players are in control of an ensemble of teenagers who must survive the night at a summer camp. The plot setup is classic slasher fare. A gaggle of horny teenagers are left to their own devices in a summer camp, but something, or someone, in the woods is watching them, and just waiting to pick them off. A major strength of The Quarry is the well-written characters, as is Supermassive Games' tradition. Thanks to the leaps in motion capture technology since the release of Until Dawn, as well as a who's who of veteran horror actors like David Arquette, Ted Raimi, and the fabulous Lin Shaye, The Quarry is your own personal horror movie, and we bloody love it. The graphics on The Quarry are simply astounding, and if you've recently invested in a next-gen console and a new 4K TV, there's probably no better game to test your new tech out with. The motion capture technology and facial expressions on the actors are movie standard, and it really helps sell the interactive movie element of the game. The young cast also deserves major kudos, with Justice Smith, Zach Tinker, and Brenda Song the standouts from the cast. On PS5 in particular, the graphics are extraordinary, and would really recommend the game on the strength of the graphics alone. Of course, a game needs more than good graphics to get a recommendation from us, but The Quarry has substance to back up the style. The big innovation with The Quarry is the option to pre-select how the characters will react, and if everyone lives or dies. This puts players in charge of their own horror film. It's a genuinely brilliant little mechanic, and we wouldn't be surprised if more developers ran with the idea going forward. Programming all the characters to make the smart decision means you can make a horror movie where the characters make the right choices, or make them incredibly dim and stupid, leading to some hilariously bloody results. Players can also pass the controller from friend to friend, so you and your mates can influence the outcome of the story. This makes The Quarry a perfect game to play on a Friday night with some pizza. In terms of horror, The Quarry is more Friday the 13th than the A24 brand of horror, and in that respect, the game is a real throwback to the 80s brand of horror. There are 10 chapters in the game, and the game has good pacing. This allows us to get to know the characters and figure out their relationship dynamics, and that's a crucial factor in any piece of horror. The final chapters wrap up the insanity, and when the stakes are clearly established, it makes the endings of The Quarry that much more tense. The typical Supermassive game character pacing is still present, meaning that your characters walk with all the pace and urgency of someone coming off major dental anesthesia, but they can pick up the pace during the game's QTEs. QTEs are a divisive gameplay mechanic among players, with some arguing it adds agency to the player's actions, and others arguing it reduces the game to a PowerPoint presentation. The Quarry is confident enough to make QTEs a major part of gameplay, but in certain sequences, players use a third-person over-the-shoulder style camera for shooting sections. The story does veer into, is it supernatural or is a human causing the trouble? Trope a few times too many for our tastes. But by and large, the game has confidence in what story it wants to tell. Player choice does have a pretty substantial impact on the game, but there are a few times when the player choices are overridden because it is obvious the writers have a predetermined path in mind. While it isn't quite as annoying as when The Walking Dead did it, this is a bit of a shame you can't fully warp the story to your own whims, but giving each and every player a wholly unique story in a game of this size is the stuff processors have nightmares about, so we're willing to meet the developers halfway. The game is by and large reactive to your choices, and you will have to play the game more than once to get the most out of it, which reflects good design. You become so attached to the characters you want to go back again and do things differently, be it making them act like an asshole to each other, or making them completely airheaded and stupid. All told, The Quarry is a rollicking good time, with some truly fantastic graphics, a fun story, and most important for a horror game, spooky. The horror is more at the level of a campfire story being told to you by someone with a few drinks in them, but it can still be spooky when it needs to be. The Evil Dead is even shouted out in dialogue, and the POV shots of something watching the player is unsettling, as well as the blinking you'll miss it appearances from something evil. The horror ramps up gradually, and we're thanking our lucky stars the game fully leans into the pastiches and tropes of 80s horror instead of the recent elevated horror trend. Camp counselors go skinny dipping despite being told not to, a young couple run to a spooky cop on the road to tell them to stay off the beaten path, there's some romance, and people get their limbs ripped off in gory ways. The Quarry wears its horror influences on its sleeve, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Now if you excuse us, we're going to investigate a spooky noise in the woods. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content on this channel, and head over to entertainment.ie/gaming for more gaming news and reviews.